but can make the second one. And if somebody can't make the second one, not that this is going to be so valuable that it's worth capturing on video and audio, but we'll have it up there. I've actually created a YouTube channel that I'll give everyone access to who's on the email. It's called Going Beyond the Horizon. Actually, one of the things that's good about this course, so I'll give you the background and we'll start with the introduction. Nick actually got me going on this about, when did you ask me to do the course for the juniors? Last winter? Yeah, probably. So Nick and Renee, who are running the junior sailing program this year, or one of the people running the junior sailing program this year, asked me if I would teach the juniors with the big boat program, which has been done by Tom O'Connell the last few years. And I said, gee, I'd love to. And the other thing that some of you may or may not know is, I'm kind of semi-retired. I left Ernst & Young last year to kind of do my own gig. And one of the things I've been doing a lot more of is writing. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is to write a book on navigation, because I've read every book on navigation, so I'd like to write one. So this has actually prompted me to, this is section 1, about 80 pages of my book on navigation called Going Beyond the Horizon, where I'm going to take the contents of this course. I've got the draft for the next 2 sections. I'm going to make it into a book. And you know what? I don't care if anybody reads it. I'm writing it for myself. But if someone buys it and reads it at some point, that'll be fun. So I'm honored and grateful to be here, having a chance to work with you people. A couple of people approached me and said, hey, we heard you're doing this for the juniors. Maybe we should do this for the adults. And I talked about maybe doing it individually. And I said, look, let's get a group together. So we actually had almost 40 people, I think 37, sign up between the 2 weeks. I have no idea how many are going to show up tonight. I thought we'd have between 20 and 30 tonight. So yeah, it's great. And I'm glad to be able to share my knowledge and experience from the School of Hard Knocks, because people become good navigators by making lots of mistakes. And so over my close to 40 years of boating, I've made lots of mistakes, and that's how I'm here where I am today. So what I'd like to just do, look, everybody knows each other for the most part, I think, but just in case, let's just go around the room and say who you are. Also, just kind of your level of experience. Look, I'm a rookie, I'm not comfortable going out past great captain, up to and including, Gary, I know we were talking earlier, you've done a couple of Marion Bermudas, say, look, I'm an ocean navigator, but I'm just here because, I really enjoy this stuff, right? I know we have the pleasure of Kathleen's father being here, who was a naval navigator, if I have that correct, with Naval or Air Force?
Navy.
Navy, in air class. So it's great that he's going to be here and correct me on anything when I talk about technology. So, and then tell me what your goal is. What do you want to get out of this session and next session? If you could say at the end of this, okay, I learned this, or this was what does that feel like to you? So let's just go around the room quickly and do that. Why don't we start with Klingner?
Okay. I'm Diana Klingner, and I know so little. I just watched Gary, and I'm hoping to understand what he's doing by taking your course.
Gary Klingner. I've done quite a bit of sailing and boating my whole life, really. And I just been away from the practical navigation for a bit, and I just wanted to get immersed in it again and bring myself up to speed.
Well, Nick can talk for both of us.
Okay, Nick and Tracy Ackman. We've been boating for 25 years, but not particularly good at navigation. We can get to Walls Wharf, we can get to New York City, and we can get to Northport. And after that, we follow other people. So we'd like to do it on our property.
Gotcha. Good.
I'm Paul and Catherine Kramer. I am Paul and Catherine Kramer. And we've actually only been in big boats for probably the last 5 to 7 years. I kind of follow on a boat. And I guess, so we've been running back and forth to Tom's River, coming up through New York Harbor and up East River, so that has forced me to start to figure out some basic navigation. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about 3. And I've got to get a level of confidence where I can go wherever I want to go, knowing how to get there, and also knowing whether I've got enough fuel, whether I've got enough time, and everything else.
I think I've been boating all my life, but not, learned navigation and power squadron course many years ago, but it kind of, over the years, has drifted out of my brain. And I think a lot of us, especially wives, we let our husbands do it, and it's probably time we figured out how to do it and not rely on them doing it all. So that's why I'm here.
Good. Steve, I'll let you go so Joe can get the feeling of it.
Steve Carter, I'm Zuma, and why I'm here is simply because because I've been locked in my chart plotter, and that's what if that thing went out, I think I'd be in a whole lot of trouble, so I want to get back to the basics.
Yep. And Joe, so we're just giving name, level of experience, and what your goal is.
Joe Rizal, somewhat experienced, goal is to get a little better.
So quick story I have to tell is, Joe's probably my best friend, and at least until this class. We owned an Etchells together once, and that almost ended the friendship. So that was a while ago. But was it just the two of us? Or was there a third couple? We were an American, and the wife said, "Oh, we can get back. We can get back to Greenwich. We can get back to Riverside with no problem." Matter of fact, I think you still had the Tierra at this time. So it was a while ago, and we're like, "Okay, we're going to shut up and not say anything and see how they do." All I can say is maybe they should be in the course.
Is that a turkey though?
No, we intervened. Oh, sorry, Steve, we are. Okay, you already went. So let's go next. Sorry.
Yeah, Nick Shepard, done some navigating, but kind of rusty, so get a brush up on it. Get off the electronics, as Steve said.
Hi, Dan Risner. I live right down the street. I've pretty much been on the water my whole life, but don't know nearly as much as I should. So just here to learn a little bit more and feel a little bit more comfortable, because it seems like my friends are a lot more comfortable now.
Great. Glad you're here.
Wow.
That's the problem, that's why I'm in the navigation.
Richard and Susan Kaczynski, we own the vessel impression along with Golan. I would say I'm a modern navigator. I had a lot of land navigation through RTC, but it's dated. I was wondering why there's no mountain contour maps on this. I think the same as Steve, if the electronics fail, I want to just kind of brush up on the directing and other navigation techniques.
Steve Dolan, I've been in the water all my life. As the 2016 Turkey Bone recipient, I was required to be here.
Not by me.
I'm Elizabeth Chateau, and my entire family, including my 3 kids, are much more proficient on the water. So I am truly working on trying to get better and getting to their level. Thanks to Greg Clark, who does his motorboat classes, and then I took the Sea-Sense with the women, and I have taken the motorboat by myself to Larchmont and back, and docked it.
I can actually pull up the video. One of my greatest joys was coming back from Larchmont Race Week last year on Serenity and seeing, the Serenity goes pretty fast, but your boat goes even faster. And I had a couple of and watching her go by, and she was the only one on the boat.
Eric Jansen, I have absolutely no nautical navigation experience, so I need to help. I would like, at some point, I'd like to maybe go down to the VDIs and be able to set a course and do all that. And so this will help.
Great.
I'm Eric's wife, Kathleen, and I know nothing about navigation, but I'm very interested. We have 3 children who are on the sailing program, and in a couple of years, we'll be doing the big boat program, so figured we should probably learn it too. My dad, we invited him to join.
Bob Thornton, I was trained in shipboard navigation. And in my career, I went into aviation. And it's a little different to go from surface ships to jets. You have to be a little faster. But I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Great. Glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Hi, David Courtney, lifelong boater. Definitely need to brush up on my navigation skills. Become way too reliant on technology, but very grateful to you for doing this.
Ryan Benincasa, I've been boating my entire life, and recently helped Chess Sarbeck deliver his boat up from Charleston, and that pretty much showed me the importance of being able to navigate, especially conditions aren't really going your way. So I'm really excited to be here.
Great. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for that brief introduction, and so we get to know each other a little bit better. So here's the plan over the next 2 nights that we're going to be together, tonight and next Monday. I'm going to talk about, after the introduction, a little bit of history of navigation. I kind of enjoy that stuff. I think it's important to know where some of this comes from. I basically have structured this. What I did was I took the syllabus for the JSA. So when the kids get taught, there's a syllabus that says, hey, look, here's everything the kids are going to get tested on, which aligns very closely to what I've seen in other navigational books. What I did is I took a step back and I said, if I was going to structure this, how would I structure it? And I structured it differently. And I structured it basically into 3 sections, which is location, how do you get there, and how do we want to arrive, right? Safely and quickly. Because everything in navigation comes down to those, and you'll see how that theme plays out. So we're going to hit the first 2 of those, basically where are we and how do we get there today. On the 12th, depending on where we break, I mean, it's fairly flexible. We'll get into how do we want to arrive, which is safely and quickly. Talk about the fundamentals of plotting. We'll do that a little bit today, but there's a whole kind of section on plotting, on hand plotting, which I think is still a very fundamental thing to know, and something important to know, just in case something ever goes wrong. And then we've got the section for the practice exam questions that are given to the juniors. We don't have to do those. I think we do it based on time, right? I want this to be really interactive. If you have a question, blurt it out, stop me, right? I think there's going to be a lot of chance for interaction. I think we'll probably hopefully have some fun as well. Here's the legal disclaimer, which I want you all to read. No, seriously. Basically what it says, that if this happens to you, or this, or I don't know how the hell that happened. Ouch. If that happens to you, or this, I'm not responsible, okay? So that's the legal disclaimer. Nothing I say here can be used against me in a court of law. So now that that's done. So what is navigation? Well, so it's starting someplace. Where? Here, right where you are. And it's traveling some distance and some time, some direction, and getting to someplace else. That's how simple it is. That's really all navigation is going from here to there. What's the problem though? Well, the problem is things get in our way sometimes. I've hit rocks. I've luckily never hit it. Well, I shouldn't say I've never hit another boat. I have hit other boats. I've hit navigational aids. I've hit sandbars. I've been lost. Scary lost by myself. I've been in weather conditions that have overwhelmed me. These things get in the way, you know, but I'm still here today. And I also am a pilot. I don't fly anymore, but one of the things you learn more in getting your pilot's license, they say that which doesn't kill you makes you a better pilot. And you know, I had some scary experiences flying as well, but I didn't die from any of them, right? And so that to me is why I love navigation so much, is because it's just, you know, it's something that's been around for centuries, thousands and thousands of years. It's something that's so practical that we take so for granted, because I treat my boat, or boats, or whatever boat I'm on, like I treat an airplane, right? A car you can stop, and you can get out of, right? A boat you can stop, but you can't get out of it, there's water. An airplane you can't stop. Well, you kind of can. The new Cirrus airplanes have parachutes on them, so if you get really in trouble, you can pull a handle and a parachute pops out. But for the most part, you know, that's why navigation is so important to pilots, because there is no alternative other than to know exactly where you are and where you're going. So, you know, the whole structure of what we're trying to do here these next 2 nights is to really demystify how you understand where the obstacles are. And when I say obstacles, it's more than just what's under the water, right? There's moving obstacles, weathers can be obstacles as well. So that's what we're going to focus on.
30 seconds. Turn it massive in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Torpedo impact, 25 seconds. The turn, Captain. Gotcha. Mark plus 8 seconds, plus 9, plus 10 seconds, plus 11, plus 12, plus 13 seconds, plus 14, plus 15 seconds. Captain, we're out of position by so much as a fault lane. Torpedo impact now, 15 seconds. Sound collision. Sound collision. Captain, we're out of the lane. You're relieved. Forwarding. Right full rudder. Reverse starboard engine. Right full rudder. All power northern south. Northern south. Torpedo impact. 12 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7,
love The Hunt for Red October. One of my favorite movies. That's a great navigational clip too, right? Because I think about navigation, I think about the 2 L's all the time. What's my location and what's my level of danger? And I literally am asking myself these 2 questions over and over again whenever I'm in a plane or whenever I'm in a boat. Do I know exactly where I am? And do I know what the level of danger is? The great thing I like about that clip is Captain Ramius, right? He knew exactly where he was, right? As a matter of fact, he relieved the navigator because he knew he had some distance left in the lane before he had to turn before the Massive. And he also knew the level of danger. He had an active torpedo that was hunting him, and he knew if he could get close enough to that thing, it might home in on the Massive as opposed to the boat when it turned, which is what happened, right? Now, luckily, we don't have people shooting torpedoes at us, right? But there are a lot of things that influence the level of danger. What are some things that can influence the level of danger when we go out in our boat? Weather?
Visibility.
Visibility?
Yeah.
Depth? Are we someplace where the depth is constant?
No.
Right? So what else affects it? Tide?
Other motors.
Other boaters? Other things people can think of?
What's under the water? What terrain obstacles?
Current.
Yep, current. Good one.
Navigational aids.
Navigational aids, maybe they're off station, maybe they're not working. Right? We'll talk about where to find out if they are.
How maneuverable your boat is.
Absolutely, how maneuverable your boat is, you know? I feel that I have a higher level of danger when I'm in Serenity than when I take the Mako 17 out. Because, you know, it's a big boat. Doesn't stop and maneuver as well as a small one does. So, these are questions you have to ask yourself all the time. The other one that I think about a lot related to offshore sailing is what's your proximity to shore? You know, there is a different level of danger when you're offshore, when you're in a shipping lane versus not in a shipping lane, right? There's a different level of danger when you're potentially 100 miles off the coast as opposed to 5 miles off the coast. And we'll talk about it. You gotta remember, like 200 years ago, they still didn't know how to find the coastline for sure. It was a guessing game. And they had people up at tops of rigs, you know, looking in the distance to see if there was land because they didn't know how to solve longitude. It's a relatively recent thing, and we'll talk about that. I like this quote. It's a good book, by the way, Boat Navigation for the rest of us. If you haven't read it, I have a bunch of stuff up here that you can take a look at. Good navigator always has a general idea of the vessel's position, even though we might not know the exact position. So I go back to the first question. Do I ever know the exact position? I try not to assume that I know the exact position, because the next one is a great navigator never assumes anything until I've got the lines tied up at the dock. So I just don't want to make assumptions, because usually the assumptions that I've made is what has gotten me in trouble when I've been in navigational situations. And also, one of the other things I read is, you know, I still subscribe to stuff even though I don't fly, that talks about, they analyze every aircraft crash, especially general aviation ones, in a lot of detail, right? And I love going to read those things because it's, you know, I can get the bad stuff without having to experience it firsthand. But the Coast Guard also does write-ups of every boating accident in which there was a major loss or a death. And I think in one of the other presentations, this is like a 5-presentation thing that's all woven together. I think I actually give where you can go find that. So, let's talk a little bit about the history of navigation. I mean, navigation goes back to the very beginning. Before people could talk, could write, could do anything else, right? They knew where to go get the food, right? And they would grunt or point or whatever at the other cavemen and say, moose, you know, right over there. That's a form of navigation. They were someplace, their cave, and they wanted to get someplace else where the food was, right? You know, some great navigators, Columbus. A lot of people associate him with finding America. He actually never set foot on North America. Ponce de Leon was the one who did that about 20 years after that. Magellan, I referenced Magellan, you know, joking, right? A lot of people think Magellan was the first person to sail around the world. Actually, he was not. He never sailed around the world. He was the first person who ended up at the same place, which is actually where he died over here in 1521 in Mactan, down in the Philippines. And so he had gone there on an easterly trip before. His goal was to go all the way around the world, so he actually was the first person to find the Straits of Magellan down south and end up going, you know, on the westward route all the way around and got the same place. So he was the first person that got to the same place both east and west. But he was killed in Mactan, and so Juan Sebastian Elcano, who no one's ever heard of, is the person who actually sailed first around the world. That's a great trivia question, by the way, if you ever want to break that one. I love the story of endurance and Sir Ernest Shackleton. If nobody's read this book, please get it and read it. It's one of the best books, even if you're not a navigator. I think one of the most amazing feats of navigation, for those of you who don't know, so they ran aground, they got locked in ice. They had lost the race to the South Pole, right? So he had a previous expedition. He was trying to be the first person to get to the South Pole. Another explorer, Amundsen, I forget how you pronounce his name, beat him by like a year and a half. So this expedition was going to be about crossing Antarctica, right? But he got trapped in the ice down here in January of 1915, and ultimately the ship broke up in October. So it was basically trapped in this ice floe for that long. And then they were on, foot and dragging boats and everything, and they eventually made it to this place called Elephant Island over here. And after a period of time there, Shackleton, the captain of the Endurance, so he was the overall head of the thing, the captain of Endurance, Frank Worsley, and 4 others, took this 22-foot lifeboat, small lifeboat, in the Southern Ocean and sailed 600 some nautical miles to get to South Georgia, the nearest whaling station, and help. And the only thing they used to navigate was one of these. And the great thing about it is there are real pictures of the Endurance. I mean, that was early enough that there was real pictures. They had a photographer on it. You can see real pictures. Actually, there's real live movies. And there's a lot of the log. Frank Worsley has a whole log that he wrote about that trip and how hard it was. They were going on basically one sight reading a day. It was all that he was able to get in like 20-foot seas. I mean, it's crazy, But that's a good feat of navigation. Another one I just have to share because I found this out a few years ago. So this is Plymouth, Massachusetts, so you can probably guess what that boat is. And you can guess what the name of that island is out there, Clark's Island. Well, believe it or not, that's actually named after my 9th great-grandfather, who was the pilot of the Mayflower. So I don't have any of the, cool stuff. I'm not a descendant of the Mayflower, right? But I'm a descendant of the guy who was the pilot. And I was doing some genealogy and I found this out. And, I talk about in my book, I know all this nautical stuff that I just shouldn't know. And my wife honestly believes I'm reincarnated multiple times from being a sailor in the past. I have no idea if that's true or not, but this suddenly started to make a lot of sense. And actually, also interesting, John Thomas Clark's brother, who also ended up moving back, was the founder of Newport. So my, 9th great uncle was the founder of Newport. Who knew? Oh, and this is in here for the juniors. You don't need to worry about that. I don't know how that goes. So, that's enough about history. So where are we? Who can tell me where we are? We're here?
41.
Okay.
We're in a position between latitude and longitude designated by degrees and minutes. So.
Excellent. There's a lot of ways to describe where you're located on Earth, where a point is located, but the universal communication language is latitude and longitude, right? And so if you think about where we are, there's that little dot basically of where we are. And this can be expressed a few different ways. So this is our latitude and longitude. It's actually the junior clubhouse. I didn't move it to here. So it's off just a little bit. There's a correct way to say that, by the way. So there's a lot of language stuff. And look, Steve's oldest Tommy's in the Coast Guard, and so I'm sure that they're very, very rigorous about this. And I'm not a military guy, I'm not in the Coast Guard, but I also like to preach a little bit of rigor in communications because you say these things for a reason so that there's no confusion, right? You use certain code words in certain situations so that there's no confusion. We'll have a section on radio communication later on where we'll talk about what's some of the common stuff for radio communication. So the correct way to say this is 41 degrees 01 minutes 22.58 seconds north latitude by 73 degrees 35 minutes 34.82 seconds west longitude. That's the correct way to say it. And if you listen to the Coast Guard give the position of a vessel in distress or anything of that nature, that's the way they'll say it. So if you get used to it that way, right? And the reason you do it that way is because there's a proper way to say, and there's no 9 in this because as a pilot you say 9-9er. There's a proper way to say every one of these numbers so you get used to hearing it the same way, right? So 41 and 41 sounds a lot alike, so that one maybe is okay, but sometimes you might run into a situation where somebody says 35 or 31, and it could get misconstrued, so that's why there's the way it's set. We're going to take elevation out, right? You mentioned that there's no topography on the nautical maps. Obviously, in aviation, this is very important, right, is having the elevation element because if you think about that latitude and longitude, there's actually infinite points of latitude and longitude that are that because they go straight up, right, as high as you want to go. Another way that you'll see latitude and longitude, this is actually the way the Coast Guard communicates it. So if you, I leave my GPS as set in this, right? You can default most GPSs to say whether they give this format, which is typically represented as, let's start here. So this is typically represented as degree, minute, second, dot, second, right? That's the way that's represented. There's another way, which is degree, capital M, lowercase, 3 small m's, okay? And that is, that's that format. So if you listen to the Coast Guard and they give a request, right, they can deal with both, but this is the format that they'll communicate in, right? If they give a notice to mariners to say look for a vessel, they're going to give you a latitude, longitude, and degree, minute, decimal, minute, right? And so this one also said the same way. 41 degrees, 01 decimal 376 minutes north latitude by 73 degrees, 35 decimal 580 minutes west longitude. So you say all 3 digits, even though you could leave the 0 off, you say all 3 digits right in the decimal.
How are you going to teach us to be dealing with it? With no seconds, with this format, or the other, or both?
You can do either one you want, right? When you do computations, right? So when we get a little bit later on and you start doing computations, you'll go back and forth because some stuff, especially like when you go back to celestial, right? References in celestial books are in minutes and seconds. Not that you guys are going to be doing any celestial navigation, but to make the map easy, a lot of times that gets converted into this format first because it's easier to deal with decimal minutes than it is. Matter of fact, there's even one more format, which is this, which is referred to as just decimal degrees. That's the way it's referred to. So it would be just DD, and this is kind of a truer version of the way GPSs communicate, right? This is the data level of data that goes back and forth on GPS.
Are there any differences in variation of specificity, or in terms of
just to the degree that you carry decimal points out? So usually it's seconds with 1 decimal behind it. Sometimes you see seconds with 2 decimals behind it, but let's just say most reference books for anything celestial will only have the 1 decimal in it. So as you translated that to either this or that format, that would be the constraint on the accuracy, right? But you get pretty accurate, right? Because 1 minute of 1 degree of latitude, we'll come back and talk about that, is a nautical mile, right? And so you're breaking a nautical mile down into 60 seconds, right? So a 60th of, so you start to get to a pretty fine level of detail when you talk about this. Interestingly, how accurate, I won't ask that question. So how accurate do you think a GPS is about today? Marine GPS?
3 meters.
Yeah. They talk about 3 meters as kind of the standard for marine aviation, or for marine navigation. How accurate can GPS be today? Anybody know? Today? 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters, there's existing technology. Drones fly on GPS-based technology that's accurate to within 2 centimeters. The next level of technology that's getting released next year is going to make it to 2 millimeters. That's how accurate